We saw Nate Desmond upset Luke Lilledahl at the Army Black Knight Invitational. We also saw Aaron Nagao go down with an injury. Could some potential lineup moves be on the way for Penn State?
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That is right. You are locked on to Penn State Wrestling. And thank you so much for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day, your daily source for all things Penn State sports. My name is Zach Seyko, and I'm the host of the show, credentialed media member for both Penn State football and Penn State wrestling. And help me welcome back the voice of Penn State wrestling, Jeff Byers. As we record this, he's on the road to cover Drexel, and then he'll return home to cover Lehigh as well. As this is a dual meet weekend preview for the Nittany Lions as they take on Drexel and Lehigh over the next 3 days. We're also going to talk about takeaways from the Army Invite, the Black Knight Invitational, because Nate Desmond beat Luke Lilledahl. Joe Sealey and PJ Duke, they were really close. That's another battle that just 157. That's got a lot of depth there. And then Aaron Nagao goes down with an injury. We're going to break it all down in today's show, brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Friendly reminder to let us know your thoughts down in the comments section. Be a part of the conversation. Jeff, I think it's fair to start because this one had the most fireworks. I don't know how many people were anticipating Nate Desmond to go in and upset a potential NCAA finalist. Now, Nate Desmond's extremely talented. I enjoyed very much talking to him in that interview here on the podcast not too long ago. So Desmond, this seems par for the course of it was like an insight to what the practice room looks like on a day-to-day basis and just how close and competitive these wrestlers are. I don't get the sense that Luke Lilledahl's losing his 125-pound spot anytime soon, but also that Nate Desmond, at a moment's notice, would be a capable starter if he needed to come in at any point in time.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. They're both very special wrestlers, elite. I think part of that was they know each other very well. I think Nate had maybe a little extra drive that day. And again, they are both really good wrestlers. Luke Lilledahl, I think, will be just fine. I think, again, sometimes when you get teammates meeting, it can be a little tricky sometimes in terms of the results, on a given day type thing. And that's not to say Desmond, again, he's right there. He's been there. They've wrestled previously and they've been very close matches. So, it wasn't fluky. I don't want to make it sound like that, but I also do think Luke Lilledahl, day in and day out right now is the more consistent wrestler, and I think still gives Penn State its best opportunity to win a national title this season. But I mean, both of these guys obviously have extremely bright futures in front of them.
I agree. I mean, Luke Lilledahl is a NCAA finals contender. That doesn't change my opinion of him. What it does is it changes my opinion of Nate Desmond as not just a backup here. This is somebody that, again, probably will get some spot starts maybe throughout the season. Again, he has the red shirt. He's a true freshman, so he can wrestle a few of those dual meets here and there attached to the Penn State roster and not have to worry about his red shirt. But again, it shows just how competitive it is. So it's more props to Nate Desmond than it is me trying to come down on Luke Lilledahl, like, you didn't have it. But it also, Luke Lilledahl, as he does have some of those moments where, maybe you question the result a little bit. He's only in year 2, right? I'm not trying to be overly critical here. I mean, Nate Desmond is at Penn State for a reason, but it does bring into question, okay, you're going up against Sheldon Seymour, the guy you lost to the last time around in NCAAs, even though you won the first meeting. Is Luke Lilledahl going to be able to go on those runs and not have any hiccups along the way when it does matter most?
Yeah, and I think, everything in wrestling, I mean, I guess in life for all of us, hopefully it's a learning experience. So I think Luke learned a lot going through what he went through last year, a lot of ups and a few downs. And so, I think he's ready to apply all of those lessons. Again, the teammate thing, I think, just gets a little tricky sometimes. I don't read too much into those results, especially early in a season like this. But Again, 125, there's 4 or 5 guys there that are certainly capable on a given day of going out and beating anybody at the weight class. And Luke is certainly one of them. So, yeah, I think he'll get a great test with Seymour again this coming weekend. But I think Luke is he just has the right approach. And I think he understands at the end of the day, he's putting a lot into this, but he also gets that it's a sport, and sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. You just control what you can control and keep working on getting better. And Luke has gotten a lot better than where he was at the end of last year. And at the end of last year, he was pretty darn good.
So that's one result definitely worth discussing. And Penn State actually didn't wrestle off a lot of these Penn State versus Penn State matchups if they were inside of the championship. So it was great to see William Hankel go up against Levi Haynes, the student versus the teacher, right? Rocco Welsh versus an Asher Cunningham. And let's settle in, because we'll get to Joe Sealey and PJ Duke in a moment. But Aaron Nagao, the Penn State would have swept the whole tournament, had 10 out of 10 champions at every single weight class if Aaron Nagao did not have to injury default against his opponent in that championship at the Army Invite. And it is concerning given the fact that now, at least initially, Aaron Nagao seems to be okay, but I'm saying it's scary due to the fact of his past injuries. I mean, he was held out long-term, missed all of last season with a serious injury. And it's just, I feel bad for Nagao. He just can't catch a break. But Jeff, initial intel says that this isn't a long-term thing and that Aaron Nagao should be back in the lineup sooner rather than later, which means that Braden Davis probably won't be pulled off of his red shirt.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if there's a specific timeline for Nagao, but I think, he's on track to get back in the lineup here at some point. And I think right now, at least, Braden Davis is a pretty solid red shirt. So I would think Cael Sanderson will be the next man up here at 141 for at least this weekend and maybe for the next couple of weekends anyway, as they as Aaron continues to work to get himself back into that starting lineup.
So an upper body injury, at least it looked like it. We didn't get to hear from Cael Sanderson this week because inclement weather kept media availability off the schedule with the campus shutting down classes and everything. So it's understandable for everybody's safety. But when we do get the chance to talk to Cael, I'm sure that if it's not me, somebody will follow up and ask about Aaron Nagao's availability going forward to hear it directly from Coach himself. Last thing I want to hit on from the Army Black Knight Invitational, Jeff, before we start to talk about Drexel, who actually has a pretty solid team together, and Lehigh missing a couple of its stars. So that's not going to be the dual meet that's necessarily as we thought it to in the preseason. We'll get to that in a moment. Joe Sealey and PJ Duke, that one being down to the wire. And the reason Joe Sealey loses that one is because of a 50-50 stall call. I didn't agree with it. I guess he backed out and it was enough for the refs are going to enforce that. If you back away, that's going to be an immediate stall call. So I guess it's justified in this instance. I thought it was ticky-tacky, so be it. But Sealey right there with PJ Duke, which I know it's teammate versus teammate, but pretty telling. What's your overall takeaway? Is that PJ Duke's still trying to get into the swing of things since he's wrestled so much, or that I don't think Joe Sealey's that much of an afterthought, so to speak. I don't think people give him enough credit being a former top 3 pound for pound recruit.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the top recruits in the country, and I think when healthy, he showed why he is that or was that, and yeah, I mean, they're both again really, really special wrestlers. I just think when Joe Sealey gets his movement going, I mean, he is truly right there with anybody in the country, and obviously PJ Duke's accolades this past year speak for themselves. So you're dealing with an elite athlete there. But to me, those results, both 125 and 157, and you can go up and down the lineup. But it just speaks to me volumes about just how unbelievably deep Penn State is in some of those weight classes. And I was thinking about this coming back from the Black Knight Invitational, where under Cael Sanderson, Penn State has had many years where you have a couple of weight classes, 2 or 3, where you're like, wow, man, they have 2 really good guys, like 2 guys that might be top 10, maybe top 8, even in the country.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you look at it this year, and I know there's been some talk about this, but if you take the non-starters in the room, and again, you have 30 kids now on that roster, so I'm saying the 10 starters and not necessarily backups, because some of the kids that are redshirting this year, I don't think you would look at as true backups, but 10 guys that are not in that starting lineup but are in the room this year, I'm not sure that team wouldn't contend for a top 2 or 3 spot at the NCAA tournament. And again, it on the surface is crazy to say, but when you start going through that lineup, and again, you're including red shirts like Ono, like Kasak, and obviously, Desmond, and you can throw in Joe Sealey there, whatever way, William Henkel, Lucas Cochran. You go up and down that lineup. I mean, it's just, it really is like not believable what Penn State has been able to amass in terms of the depth. And, was watching them roll around tonight, Zach, and I'm just telling you, these guys get along. If there is any petty jealousy or concerns about that, man, they do a remarkably good job of hiding it. And I'm talking about hiding it when they're just with one another and horsing around in the room. That it just is. Cael has obviously worked very hard to get this program to this point, but he has to be looking around and pinching himself that this is what he gets to coach, because it's just not something that we've ever seen in a college wrestling room where you have this much talent up and down the lineup. And again, 2, 3 deep in some of the weight classes now.
One other weight class wrestled off that we still have to get to: Lucas Cochran, Cole Mirasola. Mirasola distances himself once again. We'll discuss that. Plus, Drexel, Lehigh. That's all coming up next year on Locked On Nittany Lions. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, and one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. Lines are available for your favorite NFL teams. Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Baltimore Ravens. You can find lines available for that game over on FanDuel. Also, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Chargers. Lines are available for that game as well. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. That is FanDuel. The game moves fast, and so can you. Cole Mirasola gets another victory, so he wouldn't have been in the starting lineup if he didn't win a theoretical wrestle-off against Lucas Cochran the first time, going up against Oklahoma. And then this time we actually get to see it unfold 3-1 against Cochran. Those two are close, but clearly there is a gap between Cole Mirasola and per Cael Sanderson. The last time we heard from him, this is going to be a weight class. I mean, he said, like all of them, you're going to have to monitor them throughout the season, but this one in particular, I don't think Lucas Cochran's going away anytime soon, but it's also good to see where Cole is going into year 2 as a redshirt freshman. I've just been extremely impressed with his development as an undersized heavyweight.
Yeah, he's a very special wrestler. Both he and his brother are just obviously really good. But I think Cole really took to heart what he needed to do last year in terms of bulking up, figuring out the style he would need to wrestle to make himself, competitive at the highest levels here at heavyweight. And I think he continues to progress, continues to pick up little things from match to match. And I just think he is on track to, when March rolls around, be right in the thick of things there in that heavyweight division. And again, he'll have a couple of good tests this weekend. We'll get a little better idea of where he's at this stage of the season. But
yes,
again, I would not get too worked up one way or the other about where he's at this stage of the season, because this stage of the season is all about building toward the end of the year and what your ultimate objectives are in the sport.
Oh, he's definitely going to be tested. Coach Mirasola is going to have an exciting weekend, hopefully for the better, but certainly tested between his matchup with Drexel. Nate Schoen, who's actually a Pennsylvania native, committed to Iowa State once upon a time. I called actually tons of his matches during his high school career when I was doing radio broadcasting and covering high school wrestling. So that matchup's going to be personal for me to see Coach Mirasola go up against somebody that I covered at the high school level in Nate Schoen, but also Nathan Taylor of Lehigh, who is a top 10 wrestler right now at the heavyweight spot. And then somebody who could, again, things break his way, could be in the semifinals, for example, because that heavyweight class is crowded. Now let's zero in on this Drexel lineup, because they're going to wrestle first Friday, December 5th, 7:30 is when the dual meet starts. Jeff will be on the air via local radio and gopsusports.com at 7:10 Eastern time out of Philadelphia. So be sure to tune in for that. This is a Drexel lineup that, again, Penn State's going to win. Penn State's going to dominate. There's a chance that they shut them out, but this is still a team that, okay, against other opponents, you got to be careful with. So for Drexel, this is what the lineup in theory is most likely going to look like, from lightweight to heavyweight. Desmond Pleasant, Kyle Waterman, Jordan Soriano, Patrick Kelly, Luke Nichter, Dom Findora or Cody Walsh, Josiah Queen, that's at 165, Josiah Queen at 174, Ethan Wilson, Ibrahim Amir, and Nate Schoen to round out the lineup. Jeff, which matchups, we'll deep dive, of course, same thing with Lehigh here. Which wrestlers for Penn State do you think have the, like Coach Mirasola, have kind of a subtle test here in this dual meet?
Yeah, I think, first of all, Drexel has 6 or 7 seniors, depending on who goes at 65 in that lineup. So again, this is a team that was the EIWA runner-up a year ago. So this is a really good wrestling team. It's just solid top to bottom. They don't have the firepower to make noise at the national tournament. I mean, they're not going to be a top 10 or likely even a top 20 team, but it's just a really solid dual meet lineup that Drexel puts out there. And yeah, for Penn State, I think, Marcus Blaze, again, an exceptional true freshman, but still a true freshman. So I think, it'll be a good test with him and Waterman, just another different look that he'll get a feel for here early in the season. Certainly, again, Coach Mirasola, I just think each bout he gets here at heavyweight now is just another step toward him getting to where he wants to be atop the podium here when it's all said and done. Josiah Queen is a very good wrestler. Obviously, got Levi Haynes, who right now I'm not sure there's anybody wrestling any better at any weight in the country. So those are probably the matchups that you'd look at. I mean, I know Ibrahim Amir is ranked, I think, 31st in the Intermat rankings.
Yep, but just inside. Yep.
The way Connor Mirasola is wrestling right now,
I'm
not sure that's going to be what you would call a significant test.
No, but those are, again, under the circumstances, best overall wrestler, it seems like. Again, I'm eager to see, because I'm slightly biased from my coverage at the time. Nate Schoen, he's just an athletic heavyweight. That's how I would describe him. He's also I don't want to say reckless isn't necessarily the right word, but just somebody that he's got an engine like no other. Like the guy doesn't quit, and the guy is looking to dominate from start to finish. So just saying that, hey, you're going to get a bowl in the China shop type of wrestler when it comes to Nate Schoen. Not egregious, but again, somebody that's just overly aggressive. With Josiah Queen, Levi Haynes he's in a category of his own for this season. But best overall wrestler for Drexel, I would say, pound for pound, is definitely Josiah Queen, ranked number 17 at 174.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably right.
So this is a Drexel team. They're 2-0 on the season. They defeated Duke 37-4 and then Morgan State 38-9. This is a duel that Penn State, again, definitely should be able to shut out its opponent. And it goes down Friday. That's probably when you're listening to the show. Friday night in Philadelphia, 7:30 start time, 7:10 air time for Jeff on the air. Now, Lehigh, this one's back in Rec Hall. Penn State returns home. This was a dual meet that was supposed to have potentially Ryan Crookham versus Marcus Blaze, Luke Stanich against Aaron Nagao, and there's still really quality elite matchups here, but it's not going to be everything that we thought it was, but still plenty of interesting matchups to cover here. We'll discuss that after the break on Locked On Nittany Lions. And today's episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every single time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure it out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. It's a great gift for anybody, grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos. Endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app. You can add personalized messages right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's open. And packaging comes gift ready. There's no price tag, no wrapping needed, which is a huge win. And for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That is auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. The deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. So like the Drexel dual meet preview, we're going to talk about go in depth to the key matchups here. Sheldon, Seymour, and Luke Lilledahl. That's the one that's going to stand out because that's a rematch from NCAA's last season, and Luke Lilledahl, so close to getting to the finals there. But Seymour got his revenge. They're 1-1 against each other. So this is an even split. Jeff, this Lehigh team is actually one of the most talented teams in the country. Are they going to win a national title or contend for that? No, but this is a team that could make some noise if they were fully healthy. Again, I'm not sure what the injury report is when it comes to Luke Stanich at 141 or Ryan Crookham at 133. But when this team is fully healthy, I fully believe that they're a fringe top 5 team in the entire nation.
Yeah, no, they certainly have some talent up and down that roster. And yeah, Sheldon, Seymour, and Luke Lilledahl, I think, will be must-see wrestling. I think that's going to be a match that both coaching staffs and obviously both kids want very much right out of the gate. And then, you go right to the end. And I think that Nathan Taylor and Cole Mirasola match has a chance to be very special and, again, help both of those wrestlers, I suspect, will benefit from having that bout under their belt here at this stage of the season. And again, win or lose, you get to go back and kind of figure some things out, work on some things that undoubtedly both wrestlers will expose in the other during the course of that match. I think, Logan Rosinski will also be probably the biggest test yet for PJ Duke in terms of collegiate wrestling. And I think, it'll be fun to see PJ get a shot here at a top 10 guy and continue, hopefully his rise in the rankings here throughout his freshman season. And, 141, Carter Bailey is a really special athlete in his own right. He is really dangerous. Would have obviously loved to have seen Aaron Nagao in the lineup there, but I think Cael Sanderson will be excited to get the opportunity, and I think that match has a chance to provide some fireworks here on Sunday afternoon.
The expected lineup, again, things could change. They do wrestle Pitt Friday, and then they go to State College, right? Yeah. But this is the probable lineup for Lehigh. Sheldon Seymour at 125, Ziegler at 133, Bailey at 141, Reinsel at 149, Rosinsky at 157, Brignola at 165. Expect Doubler potentially at 174 or his counterpart Rogers at 184, Brancato Road at 197, and Taylor at 285. So the spotlight matchup, let's go in depth there. Sheldon Seymour versus Luke Lilledahl, part 3, which will not disappoint and will essentially be the headlining matchup. And then I think Cole Mirasola and Nathan Taylor will be that next best one, but we'll go through them, right? Seymour and Lilledahl. Lilledahl, you could tell that Seymour came in with a game plan, so Lilledahl is going to be expecting it, where he wants to go to sudden victory. He wants to go to extra time. He wants to basically keep this one as low scoring as possible. Jeff, do you anticipate, that's what I'm anticipating, that Seymour is going to try to execute the same game plan that worked the last time around in NCAAs?
Yeah, and I think for Luke, it's about getting on your offense and being able to finish your shots cleanly. Try to finish them quickly and cleanly when you get the opportunities. And I think, obviously Lilledahl has quickness, but I think he's really kind of developed with his offensive arsenal a nice range of attacks. And I think, again, if he's just kind of methodical with his approach, I just think over the course of 7 minutes, he'll be able to figure this thing out and get the win. But yeah, Seymour is really tough to score on. I mean, it's one thing to get in on a shot on him. It's another to actually finish it quickly and cleanly, as I'm suggesting Lilledahl will certainly try to do here. But again, Seymour is he is a really strong kid and obviously just a hard-nosed, tough wrestler.
Offense versus defense. That's what it's going to be. Does Lilledahl's offense prevail again like it did the first time in that Penn State Lehigh dual meet? Or will Seymour be really strategic? And again, you could debate the refs and everything else. You're in control, right? So Lilledahl, good chance for him to bounce back in a head-to-head matchup that could go down again at NCAAs if we're lucky enough. The Logan Rosinsky matchup against PJ Duke, Jeff, I'm glad you mentioned that one because that's another one we should highlight here just as an excellent test for PJ Duke, who I think the outsiders are going to try to be overly critical on Duke because, well, he didn't have that impressive victory against Joe Sealey, and why was he struggling? And there's clearly a blueprint here to defeat PJ Duke. I don't know that I necessarily subscribe to that. Again, they're teammates. They know each other well. But I would like to see a little more offense from PJ Duke, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think for PJ, it's just, again, staying with your game, developing on the elements that he has right now. Again, freestyle and folk style are a little different, and the collegiate season is just a grind. And PJ obviously has had a very long year of competition, very successful year, but it's a long year. So part of this too is just kind of managing physically and mentally getting through this season. And so for PJ Duke, I think, again, it's really just taking things one match at a time, learning a little bit with each match, figuring some things out as to what he needs to do, again, to kind of get through the grind of a college wrestling season for the first time. Obviously, has a great coaching staff, great teammates to help him do it, but it's just different going through it that first time, no matter how good you are and no matter how big of a stage you've been on. The grind of that college wrestling season, and again, when you throw in the academics and everything that's required there, it's just it's taxing. And I think PJ Duke is as well equipped as anybody, maybe outside of Marcus Blaze, to handle it. But it is a lot, and I think PJ is handling everything to this point just fine. And I think that the bottom line with PJ Duke is he is just a tremendous competitor. I mean, he loves the opportunity to compete. So again, I just being around Cael maybe as much as I have, I'm not as caught up on the results here at this stage of the season as the progress and what you're kind of seeing day in and day out, and then kind of week to week in terms of the progress. with some of these younger kids. And, PJ is certainly making very good progress here through the early stages of his freshman season.
There is another top 10 bout in this one, but Mitchell Messenbrink just in a class of his own. Max Brignola, number 7 overall at 165. So Messenbrink, it's a top 10 matchup, which will be great with someone going after the Hodge Trophy if he can get major decision, maybe even a tech fall. Not going to see, it's a top 10 wrestler, so it's unlikely that he gets a pin here, but certainly from the notoriety standpoint, Messenbrink, Brignola, a good matchup that could potentially unfold at NCAAs as well. The last one that we'll key in on is Nathan Taylor and Cole Mirasola, as we have discussed throughout. Is just if I'm watching any wrestler this weekend, it is Cole Mirasola because of what's on the horizon for him. What moment this is for him. Is this a learning moment? Is this for him to plant his flag and say, kind of like Josh Barr, and say, I'm here. I'm ready to wrestle. And I'm one of the best in this heavyweight class? Or is there still a moment of, he's not quite in that category just yet, but we see the progress. We see what he's building for this foundation for the season. Nathan Taylor is that test as a veteran wrestler here as the number 7 heavyweight at this given moment. Jeff, keys for Cole Mirasola to, eventually we expect him to defeat Nate Schoen, but then also get that follow-up matchup with Nathan Taylor. How does he answer there?
Yeah, I think it's much the same thing as what we were just talking about with PJ Duke, in that it's about getting to his offense. It's about developing, continuing to develop his offensive arsenal. And I think, for Cole, to me right now, it's about every match. Again, it's just, all right, now I have that under my belt. I know what that looked like, what that felt like against some of these other better kids. And Taylor is certainly a strong All-American candidate here this season. So I think, for Cole, to me, it's just about getting to his offense. The mat wrestling, I think, will be big here against Taylor, getting out from underneath. If you find yourself underneath, and certainly if you can get some riding time on Taylor and kind of try to wear on him a little bit with your top game, I think that can go a long way toward helping your cause as well.
Back-to-back dual meets over the course of this weekend, going down Friday and Sunday, respectively. Grateful to have the expert himself, Jeff Byers, back on the show. He's going to cover it all weekend long. He's covering it here with us on Locked On Nittany Lions. Very grateful, Jeff, for your time, your expertise, and thank you to each and every one of you out there for joining us on the show. Friendly reminder to let us know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you're new to the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcast for the latest coverage around Penn State wrestling, Penn State football, all your favorite Penn State sports teams. Again, friendly reminder, Jeff will be on the call via Go PSU Sports and local radio Friday night, 7:10 Eastern time and 12:40 Eastern time on Sunday. Do I have that correct, Jeff?
Yep, that's right.
All right. So 12:40 Eastern time on Sunday in the afternoon. But Jeff, from Rec Hall. So Jeff, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate the perspective as always, and can't wait to chat with you again about Penn State wrestling.
Sounds good. Thanks, Zach.